Our guest that was previously scheduled is Ken Gutman. He is the superintendent of the Walled Lake School District. It's great to have you with us. Not what we wanted to start off our conversation with, but you are an educator and you saw, along with the rest of the country and the rest of the world, the events that unfolded yesterday in our nation's capital. What is your advice to parents and teachers as to how they relay those images to their students?
Yeah, I think, thanks, Ronnie. It's always good to be here too. And I think that with great sensitivity is how you relay all of this. I talk to my own children, and we talk to our students in school with an open mind and with an understanding that we all have a lot to learn. I think we see that the divisiveness that we've seen over the last year particularly, but as you and I talked about off the air, 2020's not really left us. The divisiveness is still there. And, I still firmly believe that our children are the ones who will need to lead us out of this divisiveness, because we as adults have not had much success with that. So, we need to empower them to make good decisions, to bring people together. We need to heal, and we're not there yet.
Ken, we were talking about the conversation that parents and even your teachers are having with their students right now after witnessing what we saw yesterday at the nation's capital. I never thought in my lifetime I would ever see such a display.
Certainly historic, and perhaps not in the way we want to see it. But it's a lesson for all of us. I think you and I were talking about, and I don't know if we were on the air or not on the air, we were talking about the fact that you're more attuned to the electoral process than you've been before. I taught American history as one of the courses I taught in the West Bloomfield schools, and would be a great year to teach history of government, to solely focus on that process too. I mean, I think we've learned a lot more. People have been more attuned to that, just the way our government works and what is legal and what's not legal. And so from that perspective, in a positive way, there's a lot to learn.
And take aside what actually happened, I know that I didn't know really until yesterday. The process typically takes about 30 minutes. It's just a procedure that they go through. But then to see the aides that bring in the locked boxes, what history is behind those boxes, but how they protected them. The Capitol is under siege. They're being barricaded in. And these low-level aides are taking these boxes with the electoral votes inside and rushing them to security and to safety. I didn't even know there was such a process.
No, nor did I. And again, I taught American history. So there's so much more we can all learn from this.
But that is the beautiful thing, in that we can open the conversation, we open up the dialogue. But how do parents start the dialogue in a balanced arena for their kids who were maybe watching this unplay live on TV? And we do want to sadly admit that there was an individual, one of the Trump supporters, she was shot and killed by Capitol Police, and that did happen on live TV. And while they have tried to edit out those images, you heard the gunshot, you saw the video of her being pulled out on a stretcher. And if you were a child, because they're not in the classroom right now, so if they were sitting at home and maybe they saw this, those can be disturbing images to try to have to explain to your kid.
Yeah, I'm not sure you can be completely unbiased when we talk to our own children. I'm not sure we are completely unbiased. I think we share with them our thinking. I think we also need to make sure that we do a lot more listening than talking, and help them understand, make sense of what's happening. It's hard to help them make sense of events as they unfold live, because we may not be able to make sense of them too. So a lot of listening is probably the way to go, at least to start, to understand how our children are feeling.
I'm thinking about you and your team members and the up and down roller coaster you have been on this ride, the coronavirus ride, since this past March. You think things are starting, you're getting a handle. We have a vaccine, because they did announce yesterday, the governor did announce that they're going to start providing the vaccine to teachers. But that message got lost in the chaos that was coming out of the Capitol. But is there an end to this road that you're trying to focus on?
Well, we're hoping there is. We certainly would be okay getting off the roller coaster and getting everyone back to school and happy and healthy. This has been a crazy ride, and my heart breaks for our students, our parents, our community who are going through this, our staff members who are doing everything they can to do the very best they can to teach under difficult circumstances. I don't know. I don't know when we come to the end of that road. And I think it's going to still be a little while. I'm not sure everyone's getting the vaccine. We still haven't received word from the health department, and yet we understand there was a link. We found out there was a link last night where some of our staff were supposed to be able to access an ability to get appointments for the vaccine. We still don't have direct information from the health department on that. So those slots have already filled up. It's just, there's a lot that needs to happen before we'll have a complete return of all children to school. And my guess is that's probably in the fall, ideally.
I will say the governor's office is lucky I'm not on their PR team, because these are like PR basics 101. You put this up, like you're going to stand, you're doing a press conference. You need to understand that A, B, C, D, E, and F needs to be addressed before you throw this stuff out there.
That's right.
So are you learning about this for the first time watching the governor's press conference?
We had a sense a couple days earlier that vaccines would be made available, but we didn't receive the link from the health department, period. The health department sent it to someone else who forwarded it to us prior to 11 o'clock last night. And even knowing the day before that this link was coming, we could have let our staff know. The 28 Oakland County superintendents could have worked out a plan to make sure that the distribution was equitable and that one district wasn't overrepresented. I have a very large school district here, and our staff members may or may not be able to get slots to get vaccines when other districts may have most of their teachers vaccinated. So some coordination and some planning would have been appreciated.
Well, what makes it hard, though, is because this is put out to the general public, they don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So they see the press conference, they see the headline, and they're thinking immediately, all the teachers are getting vaccinated and they can put their kids back in the classroom tomorrow.
Right.
And that's not the case.
Correct.
And how do you expand that knowledge for them to understand? Because frustrations are already pretty high during this time as well.
They are. I shared a little frustration with our staff this morning, my disappointment in the way this was rolled out. And, we're going to, I'm meeting with the health department with a number of superintendents this afternoon, and we'll share our displeasure there as well. We want to work as partners to take care of our staff and our students and our community. We just would love to have an equal partnership.
Ken Gutman with us here on the Oakland County MegaCast. He's the superintendent of Walled Lake Schools. Ken, you've always been very open and very transparent with us as well. And I think along with that, to the members of your staff and all of the parents and your students as well. And I think that's been the great thing about you and your leadership throughout this crisis. But as we continue on, I know that back in December, the governor did announce that high schools were going to be allowed to reopen. What is the status of all of your classrooms? Where do things stay? Is remote really the best way to go right now?
I think remote is a personal decision right now. Obviously, there are so many advantages to in-person learning. I visited an elementary school this morning, and when we conclude, I'm heading to another one. And what I saw, our elementary schools are back in session. They have been since December. And I will tell you that what I saw was fantastic. It's not school as it was last year. It's not school most likely as it will be next year. But it was fantastic to see students excited and staff members excited to teach and learn. Our secondary, and we also we have two other virtual options for elementary students whose parents feel that that's a better option for them. An individual one and a group one, so both virtual. At the secondary level, our Board of Education meets tonight to consider whether we return secondary schools on January 20th. And we fully, I look forward to that conversation this evening. Do I think in-person learning is better than virtual learning? I do. But I also think, again, it's an individual decision. If you don't feel comfortable with that as a student or as a parent, you don't send your student in for that. I get that sentiment as well. So we'll see how the conversation goes this evening.
So there have been reports out about thousands of students that haven't returned to their districts. Do you worry about that? Is your enrollment down, or do you think virtual is giving you a new platform to go forward in 2021 and years beyond to keep kids enrolled and to balance those different learning styles?
I don't think those are mutually exclusive thoughts. I think that I am concerned. Our enrollment's down, as is the enrollment of most public schools in the state of Michigan. And the number of students have chosen to either stay home, or we've had kindergarten students who were supposed to be in kindergarten this year. Their parents chose to keep them home an extra year. But at the same time, I do think that virtual learning could be a part of our future. So whether it's whether it's a whole schedule or a partial schedule, sure, that's something our instructional team is looking at. How can we continue to offer that option to students in the future?
And really, it's a conversation about, because I know unions can be a big hurdle when trying to talk about some of these changes, because people like to say, this is the way we've always done it. And one thing COVID-19 has taught us, we can't live on how we used to do things. We've all had to change and pivot. So maybe this is the conversation that needs to be had going forward to open up these other avenues to schools or to students that maybe don't thrive in the traditional school classroom environment.
I agree with that, Ronnie. I think our association's been great with us in terms of planning and talking about virtual opportunities. So I don't have a concern about our association being a roadblock in this case. It's just it is overcoming that's what we've always done, and looking at a new future. And if you had told us last February, in a month, you're going to be 100% virtual, we would have laughed, right? I mean, that's just what. So in some respects, this has really forced us to do some creative thinking and planning for the future.
And with that, though, I also wonder, what does this mean for the future of education? If I'm a college student and I'm studying education right now, what does this mean for the future? Is this going to be a part of how I need to learn to teach?
I think our schools of education will probably need to spend considerable time on this. As the father of two sons who are education majors in college, they know this is most likely going to be a part of their future, and that teaching virtually, which requires an entirely different set of skills, may very well be a part of their career.
Right, like you're going to have to learn TikTok.
Well, I'm not going to learn TikTok, but I agree with you. I think, yeah, well, maybe.
Hey, look, I struggle with TikTok, I will tell you. I go on and I go down the rabbit hole, but I'm never posted because I just can't get it. I'm still struggling with Snapchat.
Yeah, I can do Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook. I'm good there, but TikTok, I'm not so sure.
Well, Ken, it's always great to have you with us here on the MegaCast. We apologize for the little bit of the technology snafu that we are having, but I think so many people are experiencing that right now. But quickly, before I let you go, anything that maybe I didn't ask you that you want to mention before we let you go?
There's so many things I'd love to talk about, but let me say this. January is School Board Appreciation Month. Whether you're in the Walled Lake schools or any of the other districts who are represented here on the MegaCast, thank a board member. They are volunteers, they are unpaid, and this is a very difficult time to be a school board member. When you look at what's happening across the country, they are not loved, and they volunteered for this job. They're doing it in the best interest of the community and of the schools. So I would end with that, Ronnie. Let's thank our school board members for everything they're doing for our kids.
And you bring up a great point, because so many of them, like you said, it's a volunteer situation. They're not getting paid, and the amount of time and effort and love and passion that they put into it is really needs to be supported, whether or not you agree with their decisions or not. So
Absolutely.
great point to leave on.
You bet.